Hello, and welcome to English for Everyone, where we practice real-life American English. Today we're going to learn to avoid some important mistakes, so let's get started. First, this is not correct.
So just a couple of advice from student to student, because I'm studying investment. Okay.
I cannot say, so just a couple of advice from student to student. I cannot say a couple of advice, and I cannot say a couple of advices. Advice is not countable, so I cannot use a couple. I cannot say a couple before advice. So how do you say it? We say some. For uncountable nouns, you can use some. So it's correct to say just some advice from student to student. Example, he gave him some advice. I cannot say he gave him a couple advice. I say some. He gave him some advice. Let's practice. Did he give him some advice? That's right, he gave him some advice. And keep watching until the end to practice more with advice and how to use it correctly. This is also not correct.
To back down, to withdraw from a position. There was a board of directors and the CEO backed down, which means that the CEO decided to leave the board.
Back down is a phrasal verb, and it means to withdraw from a position, but not a position like a job, a position like an opinion. So the example doesn't work. So I cannot say there was a board of directors and the CEO backed down, which means the CEO decided to leave the board. That's not what it means. Back down is when you change your position, meaning you change your opinion. You're in a conflict and you quit. You stop. You back down. You back down from a fight. You back down from a conflict. You have one opinion and then you change your mind and you back down. It doesn't mean to quit a job or to leave a position. It means to stop fighting, to stop arguing. Example, this is my position, this is my opinion on the matter, and I'm going to argue with you about it. But if I decide not to argue, then I back down. I back down from the argument. I choose not to argue. I withdraw my position, meaning I change my opinion. I back down from the argument. I back down from a fight. I back down from a conflict. It doesn't mean you quit your job or you leave a position. So example, I can say he didn't back down. He didn't back down from the fight. He didn't quit. He didn't quit fighting. He didn't back down from the fight. Let's practice. Did he back down from the fight? That's right. He didn't back down from the fight. He kept fighting. So how do I explain the situation about the board of directors and the CEO? I can use a different phrasal verb and say step down. If you step down from a board, that means you quit. So I can say there was a board of directors and the CEO stepped down. That means he quit. So example, there was a board of directors. Did the CEO step down? Did he step down from his position? That's right, the CEO stepped down. He stepped down from his position. And don't say this either.
To reckon is a synonym to believe, to suppose, to expect. And British people love to use it. I reckon you're coming with us, which means I believe you're coming with us. I reckon that it's gonna rain tomorrow. I think it's gonna rain tomorrow. To reckon just sounds more advanced, and you're totally free to use it when you're talking to your friends, for example.
I reckon it's going to rain. This is more advanced. This is not more advanced. Using I reckon, meaning I think, is not more advanced. They use it in England and they use it in the southern United States. It sounds country. It's what people say in the South or in the country. So you don't want to use this word. Let's hear some examples of southern people, people from the country, and British people using this word, reckon.
I don't reckon he did.
I don't reckon I got no reason to kill nobody.
I reckon so.
Jason, I reckon if you feel that way, I can't part with you.
You really fancy spilling your guts here, I reckon.
No. Long as God send you something to feed him, I reckon you'll be fine.
So if you don't want to sound like someone from the country or someone from the South, don't say reckon. Say think or guess. I guess it's going to rain, or I think it's going to rain, but don't say I reckon. It sounds country. Let's practice. What do you think? Do you think it's going to rain? That's right. I think it's going to rain. This is also not correct.
And we're just traveling throughout California these days from one place to another. Shelter-in place is lifted almost everywhere. My husband was able to get a haircut.
Okay, I got the first part. They're traveling throughout California. And I got the third part. Her husband was able to get a haircut. But the second part, I don't understand. In the second part, she says, children place is lifted almost everywhere. Well, I think that's what she said. If you have any idea what she said or what she meant to say, please let me know in the comments because I have no idea what she's trying to say. I have no idea what this means. Let me know in the comments what you think. This is also not correct.
If you want to learn more phrasal verbs, I have a workbook in English that has a lot of different phrases and words that you can use.
I cannot say I have a workbook in English that has a lot of different phrases and words that you can use. I have to say phrases and words. So it's correct to say I have a workbook in English that has a lot of different phrases and words that you can use. We have to make phrase a plural. Phrases. So she has a workbook in English. She's selling a workbook in English that has a lot of different phrases and words that you can use. Let's practice. Does she have a workbook in English that has a lot of phrases and words that you can use? That's right. She has a workbook in English that has a lot of different phrases and words that you can use. This is also not correct.
And the last but not the least, turn down.
I cannot say and the last but not the least. This is an expression, so we eliminate the articles the. Both articles. It's correct to say and last but not least, and then you give the last thing that is also important. Not the last but not the least, but last but not least. And last but not least, here's another example. And last but not least, here's another error to avoid. This is also not correct.
First time you hear it from my video, second time you use it in a comment down below, third time you read a magazine and you encounter this word once again, and fourth time you start using it.
When I say first time, second time, third time, and fourth time, I have to use the article the. It's correct to say the first time, the second time, the third time, and the fourth time. I have to use the article the when I talk about times. Again, not first time, second time, but the first time, the second time, the third time, and the fourth time. This is correct. This is also not correct.
And when we're talking about a formal English, try to read TechCrunch.
I cannot say when we're talking about a formal English. We cannot use the article a here. A formal English. I cannot say an English. English is not countable, so I don't use the article a. I cannot use the article an. An English or a formal English. When we're talking about formal English, don't use the article a or an with English. So in this video, we're not talking about formal English. We're talking about everyday American English. Let's practice. Are we talking about formal English in this video? That's right. We're not talking about formal English in this video. Don't say a formal English. There's no article. This is also not correct.
That makes me so much more productive. And typing with iPad and writing with it, whatever.
I cannot say typing with iPad and writing with it. iPad is countable, so I have to use an article. Typing with an iPad and writing with it. I don't like typing with an iPad. What about you? Do you like typing with an iPad? Very good. This is also not correct.
My dog has eaten my dinner and she got away with it.
I cannot say my dog has eaten my dinner. The word is not pronounced eaten. We cannot make a fast D here. We have to make a real T. Eaten. My dog has eaten my dinner. Or I can make a stop T, eat, and then go directly to the end sound, like this. Eaten, eaten. My dog has eaten my dinner. But I cannot say my dog has eaten my dinner. Don't use a fast D. So we have two pronunciations. My dog has eaten my dinner, or my dog has eaten. My dog has eaten my dinner. And keep watching until the end to practice more with this difficult pronunciation. Let's practice. Has the dog eaten his dinner? That's right, the dog has eaten his dinner. This is also not correct.
So for example, when we say this politician has been confronted by a journalist, that means that a journalist was kind of angry.
I cannot pronounce the word journalist. It's not or journalist like Floor and More. It's journalist. We use the sound like burger. Journalist. Example, she's a journalist. She's a good journalist. She has a lot of experience, so she's a good journalist. Journalist. Let's practice. Is she a good journalist? That's right, she's a good journalist. Not journalist, but journalist. This is also not correct.
And the first phrasal verb is to ask out.
I cannot say in the first phrasal verb is to ask out. I cannot say phrasal verb. I have to make the V sound and say verb. The position is important. Touch the teeth, and make the position straight across and relaxed. Verb. The first phrasal verb is to ask out, not the first phrasal verb. Verb. Ask out is a phrasal verb. It means to ask someone on a date. Let's practice. What is to ask out? Is that a phrasal verb? That's right, it's a phrasal verb. This is also not correct.
And I will see you very soon in my next videos. Bye.
I cannot say I'll see you very soon, very soon. We have to change the pronunciation. We have to say soon. Make the oo sound like moon. Soon. Ooh. Make the sound here in your lips. Ooh. Soon. Soon. I'll see you very soon. Example, they're going to have dinner very soon. Not soon, but soon. They're going to have dinner very soon. Let's practice. Are they going to have dinner very soon? That's right, they're going to have dinner very soon. So keep watching to practice with the word advice and how to use it correctly. Today we're going to learn to avoid a common mistake. So let's get started. This is not correct. We cannot say an advice. The word advice is not a countable noun. So we cannot say an advice. We just say advice.
I can give advice, but I'm afraid it's going to be blunt.
I teach literature. I don't give advice.
So we don't tend to give advice on how to get your boyfriend to commit.
I don't do things. I give advice.
Because the word advice is not countable, the most common way to use it is with some advice. Let me give you some advice. Let me give you some good advice. You cannot say a good advice because it's not countable. Use some advice or some good advice.
Can I give you some advice?
I'd appreciate that.
Can I give you some advice?
Can I offer you some advice, sister to sister?
Well, that's some good advice.
Some advice about keeping secrets.
Over this domain you rule. But let me give you some good advice.
Example, he's giving his son some advice. He's giving his son some good advice. Let's practice. What is he doing? Is he giving his son some good advice? That's right, he's giving his son some good advice. So it's not correct to say an advice or a good advice. Does that mean we can never count the word advice? No, we can count it. If you really want to count the word, you say a piece of advice.
Let me give you a piece of advice.
Let me give you a piece of advice here.
Let me give you a piece of advice.
Can I give you a piece of advice?
Let me give you all a piece of advice.
Top 5 worst pieces of advice from people who don't know what they're talking about.
India. Okay, well, those are all good pieces of advice. I really appreciate it.
Before I went off to college at Yale, he gave me 3 pieces of advice.
Example, his father gave him one very good piece of advice. One very important piece of advice. Let's practice. Did his father give him one very good piece of advice? That's right, his father gave him one very good piece of advice. So remember, the word advice is not countable. We cannot say an advice or a good advice. The most common way to use the word is with some advice. And if you really want to count it, you can count it by saying a piece of advice. Now let's practice with another sound. When you have T-E-N, T-O-N, or T-A-I-N at the end of the word, and the syllable is not stressed, the T makes a different sound. We have to make a stop T and link it to the N. Example, kitten. You can say kitten, but most people say kitten. You do the stop T, kit. You don't release, and then you fall to an N. Kitten. When you make the stop T, the tongue is up, almost in the N position, so you don't have to change much. Kitten. Kitten. But don't say kitten. I cannot pronounce these T's as a fast D. I cannot say kitten. It's kitten, or more commonly, kitten.
No, I want a kitten.
We'll get a kitten.
I do notice you have a kitten hidden in your purse. Were you hiding?
I feel weak as a kitten. God.
Other examples. These are mittens. Mittens, more commonly, mittens. Mittens. They're not gloves because they don't have fingers. They're called mittens.
I think I asked my mom for a pretty pair of mittens and she made them for me with all the...
Earned her living by knitting rabbit wool mittens and muffatees.
There's a nice scarf and some mittens in here.
Did you already lose the mittens that I got you?
Other example, written. Written. So you can say written or written. Written is more common. Just don't say written. It's written. Let's look at some examples that end with T-O-N. Example, cotton. Cotton.
But did you know how happy I was to escape from Charleston? From a world of slaves and corsets and cotton.
He picked cotton in Mississippi, you told me 100 times.
Now you out here picking cotton like the rest of them.
Step up and get your cotton candy.
Like cotton candy.
Button. Button. Not button, it's button. Stop T and fall to the N. Button.
Push a button and end up in Canada or something.
Ding-a-ling. I push a button, and all 5 level control centers are notified the same time you are.
Between us, we don't have the brains to push a button.
In a week, all we'd have to do is push a button, we'd be turning out 100 cars a day.
I mean, how can anyone be serious about anything when some moron can steal a bomb or push a button and nuke us all until our shadows glow?
Carton. Carton. This is a milk carton. Carton. Now let's practice with some words ending in T-A-I-N. Example, certain. Certain. You can say certain or certain, but don't say certain. It's certain.
What makes you certain that your husband is, involved with someone?
I think we can be pretty certain that Bourne's not your source then.
I had to be certain that you were a decent man, kind.
I know things.
I'm certain that you know things.
Are you absolutely certain that you understood the gentleman's question?
And I'm not certain that you really understand this trade.
Example, mountain. Mountain. You can say mountain or mountain.
This Grail tablet speaks of deserts and mountains and canyons.
Mountains and the trees and the sea and the breeze.
See all the mountains and the surfers.
Though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not love, I am nothing.
Antonius, with our best troops crushed in the mountains and the rebels marching on us as we speak, what did we celebrate?
Fountain. Fountain. You can say fountain or fountain. Both are fine.
And then I swim in the fountain all afternoon.
I was thinking about a chocolate fondue fountain right there.
That's a fountain of conversation, man.
Thank you for watching. And if you like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.